And a good morning to everybody. This is the Doc Greene Show. Doc is out being a good citizen, doing his jury duty thing. I'm Tom O'Halloran, and I'll be sitting in for the hour. It's always a pleasure to sit in for my good friend Doc Greene. Hope you stick around. We've got a great show lined up for you today. Some original content, some Texas news. Just doing my little piece here as part of the Texas Tyranny Response Team. And again, this is open mic. There we go. All right, this is the Doc Greene Show on a Monday morning. My name is Tom O'Halloran. I'm the host of the Patriot Radio Show. You can catch my show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings at 9 p.m. on patriotradioshow.com. Monday and Wednesdays I do political news and information from across the country. And on Friday I do Jihad on America, where I talk about the Islamists in America, who they are, what they want, and why you should be afraid. But what we're here to talk about today is Texas. The state of Texas, the Republic of Texas, and the state of the Republic of Texas, state in that context being the situation, where we're at, what we're doing. As many of you know, I am with the Republic of Texas. And I see some of our regulars in the chat room, Texas C. Dave, Wolfenstein, Sinn Fein. Is that Sinn Fein? Tell me you're Irish, brother. Anyway, this weekend we had the monthly meeting of the Republic of Texas. And for the second month in a row, it was right here in the Houston area, up at the Tomball VFW. If you're interested in what's going on with the Republic of Texas, please go to thetexasrepublic.com. Our meeting place is marked right there on the top of the page on the right-hand side. I don't think we've got the next date set up. It will be the 11th. It's always the second Saturday of each month. But it will be here in the Tomball VFW next month as well. We're working diligently in the Republic of Texas on regaining international recognition as an independent nation. And what we're doing has gotten the attention of media from around the world. It's gotten recognition from nations and courts worldwide. People are standing up and looking. As many of you know, we have always been a republic. Granted, there was a somewhat bungled adopting Texas into the states about 150 years ago. But none of that has ever changed the fact that we are a republic. If you look around at American flags being flown around the United States of America, the state flag from every other state is flown lower than the United States flag. There is only one place in the United States of America where the state flag is flown at the same height as the United States flag, and that is Texas. That's because we are not subordinated to the United States. We are and always will be an independent republic. Now, the laws have been muddied by self-serving politicians over the past century. And there's only one way to clear it up. Because if we were to try to secede from the nation, we would have to get the approval of the same people that are at the trough benefiting at being a United States senator, United States representatives. We would have to get the people that are in state offices to agree to it as well. but they're also on the gravy train. They have their jobs. What happens to a state senator when there's no longer a state? They would have to run, and not as an incumbent. They would have to run as an individual, as an unemployed individual for an office, to be a representative or a senator for the Republic of Texas. So it's not going to be done from within. But what the Republic of Texas is doing that's different from every organization out there that's trying to get our independence is we are operating a sitting government. We have picked up where the 10th Congress left off back in 1845. We have reseated a government. We have senators. We have representatives. We have a Chief Justice. We have an Attorney General. We have a Constitution. We have Chief Justices for every county. And this is concerning people. The authorities in Texas are aware, and they're very concerned. What will happen to the state police and the state bureaucrats if Texas ceases to be a state? We have a sitting government, and we are working in the international community to get other nations to recognize us once again as a republic. So we don't need the United States' permission because we're not subordinated to them. If we were a state trying to break free, that would be different. But we're an equal to the United States of America. We don't need the United States to approve or sign on to what we're doing. And this has a lot of authorities concerned, largely for their jobs. Part of the process of what we're doing to move forward toward our independence is working on a transition process. What contracts? The state of Texas have contracts with other states. They have contracts with other countries. What happens to these contracts? What do we do with the U.S. government offices and the personnel that are inside the boundaries of what's now known as the state of Texas? What happens to the U.S. military personnel, bases, and equipment? What about Texas? The state of Texas. There are a lot of departments and personnel that belong to the state of Texas. What happens to these? Which ones will stay and which ones will be folded up? The broad strokes, anybody that's picking up the garbage, doing essential functions, keeping our power running, keeping utilities going. Anybody that's got an essential government position will probably be sticking around. But if you're a bureaucrat up there writing regulations, trying to find ways to take more money for more Texans, your job's probably at risk. These things are all being addressed. Meanwhile, we at the Republic of Texas are still under attack. If you remember, just a few months back, on Valentine's Day, we were having our meeting, our regular monthly meeting, up in Bryan, Texas, again at the VFW up there. And right after the meeting started, the doors opened up and 15 sheriffs from 5 jurisdictions, representatives of the Texas Attorney General's office, Texas Marshals, Texas Rangers, U.S. Marshals, and the FBI all walked in. We were all held for 3.5 to 4 hours. They came in with a search warrant for 2 people. 2 people were named on the search warrant, and you've heard from these. Susie Kamek has been on this show several times. Doc Krupa as well. They were named on the document because they had served a subpoena on a Texas judge who had authorized Susie Kamek's home to be repossessed. Doc Greene was a county judge in the Republic of Texas's common law court, and he initialed it and put his court stamp on it. So a sheriff's deputy by the name of Jeff McCoy out of Kerr County, who has a previous history with Susie Kamek, he got a search warrant, and it named these two individuals. But in the search warrant, and the search warrant, by the way, was issued by a Kerr County court a couple of 100 miles away from where it was served. I've never heard of this even being legal. From what I know of law, search warrants have to be issued by the county that they're in. But that point aside, the search warrant also, while it named these two individuals, it also gave the officers direction to confiscate every cell phone, every laptop computer, every briefcase and personal document of every person in the room. It also directed them to photograph, fingerprint, and take a DNA swab of every individual in the room. There's a lot of criminality going on here. We're going to talk about this a little bit more today. We're not going to go into a great deal of detail of the actual raid. We'll finish up with a little bit of it when we come back. But what we're going to talk about is what's been going on since. And there's been a fair amount of that. So please stick around, and we'll be right back.
You're enjoying Doc Greene on RagingElePhantsRadio.com.
Yeah, don't listen to her. You wish you were listening to Doc Greene. Instead, you got me, the mouth from the South. This is Tom O'Halloran, standing in for my good friend Doc Greene today, as he's out playing good citizen. Before the break, we're talking about the raid on the Republic of Texas back in February, but we're going to put that on pause for just a moment. We are now down to 1 week before Father's Day. Don't let this pass. For years, we're trained to take care of our mom and get her the flowers and stuff on Mother's Day, but fathers have been short-shifted for a long time. Remember your dad this Sunday. Don't send him flowers. Send him some tools. Send him some electronics. Send him something he'll actually use and appreciate. But whatever you do, send it from the Amazon Marketplace. We know you're listening. We see you in the chat room. We see the numbers on the hit counter for our webpage. We know you love Raging Elephants Radio. But it costs a lot of money to keep an operation like this going. So when you're going to buy anything, please start at RagingElePhantsRadio.com. There's an Amazon Marketplace button right at the very top of the website. Click on this. You can get virtually anything that you want to buy. Well, legal. You can't get your drugs, That guy, you just got to call. But anything you're looking to buy, you can get through the Amazon Marketplace and not pay a dime more than you pay going to Amazon themselves or going online at the store and getting it. But when you buy it from the Amazon Marketplace at Raging Elephants Radio, the station gets a small commission. And a small commission from a whole bunch of sales is what helps keep the Raging Elephants Radio on the air. So please, remember your dad, remember Raging Elephants Radio. We are the Texas Tyranny Response Team, and we need your help to stay on the air. John Winter says, I'll trade Amazon gift cards for guns. I love it. They should sell guns on Amazon. Well, folks, getting back to the topic at hand, the Republic of Texas. Our meeting was raided back in February. Now, it was raided because of a charge of simulating a legal process. And we're not going to dwell a great deal on this. Simulating a legal process. This would have been if they took a state of Texas court document, used whiteout on the top, and put in the Republic of Texas common law court in it. That might have been simulating a legal process. But what we were doing is we were issuing a document from a legal common law court. The Supreme Court of the United States of America says the people are entitled to a common law court. And we have them here in Texas. So we issued a subpoena to bring this judge that signed off on Susie Kamak losing her home, to bring this judge and Susie Kamak before the judge, as common law courts are known to do, to find a solution. Common law courts aren't like the U.S. court system where you're going to sue this judge for $15 billion. No, it's for settling things between the people, respectfully and fairly. But with these bogus charges of simulating a legal process, the state of Texas went on a fishing expedition and stole my cell phone and the cell phones of every other person in the room, as well as laptops, personal computers, briefcases, notepads, anything that we had. They're looking to find out who's involved with the Republic of Texas so we can be watched and monitored. Now, most of us were offered, most of us did not take our cell phones back. The laptops, well, I believe, were all accepted back because they're very expensive to replace. But we didn't want our cell phones back because they were stolen, and we don't accept stolen property. We just had our insurance companies replace them. We also don't trust the state of Texas to have not put monitoring devices, top secret documents, pornography, kiddie porn. We don't know what the state of Texas would do if they would break the law in such a manner as to hold a raid and do a fishing expedition on people that aren't even named in the document. We don't know what other criminal acts they would do to try to intimidate and stop our movement in the Republic of Texas. Now, here we are 4 months down the road, and we were of a mind that the state of Texas made their point, and they were settled down with the realization that we've not done anything wrong. There was no criminal activity going on within the Republic of Texas, and that they just moved on. But 10 days ago, Susie Kamak was arrested. And as she was being handcuffed, Jeff McCoy, who has a history with Susie anyway. Just a brief side note here. The police were at Susie's house one day, a few years back, investigating one of her boarders. She had a room that she was renting out, and the police were talking to this person. When Susie got home from work, they were already there. Susie says, "Fine, I'm going to go to bed." She walked down the long hallway to her room, closed the door, and went to bed. A few hours later, she woke up. Jeff McCoy had opened the door to her bedroom and was standing over her bed. Had she not had her baby with her, she probably would have shot the guy. She brought charges against Jeff McCoy for entering her room without a warrant, without permission, without knocking. So Jeff McCoy kind of has it in for her. Well, as they put the cuffs on her this last week, Jeff McCoy looks at her and says, "I told you I'd get you." So she was locked up in Kirk County from Thursday morning until about noon, maybe 2 o'clock on Friday morning. After she saw a judge, bail was posted, and she was released about 3-4 hours later. I had lunch with Doc Krupa that Thursday, just an hour after Susie was arrested. And we were talking about the fact that he got wind that there was a warrant out for him as well. We talked about it, figured we better plan for the worst and hope for the best. Our thinking was, well, it's a warrant for a misdemeanor from across the state. In all likelihood, it would go on record, and at some point in time, Doc would finally get stopped for a traffic ticket. They'd run his license, and they'd see this warrant out there, and they'd have to take him in, and he'd have to deal with this. And after kicking it around, we decided that that's probably what would happen, and he just better get on with his day and get on with his life and put some plans in place for when it does happen. His assistant would have a plan of action, what to do, let his patients know that he'll be out of touch for a little while. Anyway, he went about his day. I left, and I got a phone call about 4:15 from his assistant, and Doc Krupa was arrested. They were taking him into custody as he was locking up his office. The deputies that were there took a very hostile attitude with him. One of these police officers that's wearing a uniform and a badge, so you better do exactly as I say. Whatever happened to the police officer in the blue uniform that treats people with respect? I mean, Doc wasn't involved in a shootout. He wasn't suspected for dealing drugs. There was some misdemeanor out there charged with some paperwork violation. And Doc was asking, why are we going through all of this? He said, well, you better just be glad I'm going to let you lock your office. This is the Harris County Police. Whatever happened to protect and serve? Whatever happened to being a public servant? We've gone a long, long way from Andy of Mayberry, folks. And it certainly doesn't stop right here. Please stick around. We've got more on this story coming up. We got other stories too, but we're not done with this. There's a nightmare in Harris County coming up.
You're enjoying Doc Greene on RagingElephantRadio.com.
Yeah, she still thinks I'm Doc Greene, but you know otherwise. This is Tom O'Halloran filling in for my good friend Doc Greene, juror number 4. I want to thank everybody for sticking around. I know I'm always looking at the dial when I go to visit my favorite radio show and find out my host is off for the day. I'm like, should I go or should I stay? I appreciate y'all staying around. Now, our story today about the raid of Texas, the Republic of Texas, all that we've been doing, we're kind of changing direction right now. It's all been about the Republic of Texas up to this point. But now we've got Doc Krupa, one of our own, a chat cat. He's always in the chat room here on Raging Elephants Radio. We've got him behind bars, a doctor, a chiropractor, nutritional health specialist, one of the good guys. And as with Tom Bailey, another one of the Republic of Texas members that got thrown in jail for an inspection sticker that wasn't up to date. As I talk about these stories, I'm reminded of Alice's Restaurant. Those of you that are my age remember back in the days of the Vietnam War. Arlo Guthrie singing about going up to Alice's Restaurant and taking the trash out and taking it down the road and dumping it over the cliff. And they found an address and came back and arrested him for litter bugging. And he was put in jail next to the baby rapers, mama rapers, and they came and asked him, have you reformed from litter bugging? So we've got our own Doc Krupa, upstanding citizen, patriot, hard-working taxpayer trying to make a living, trying to build a business. They've got him arrested at 4:30. Took him down to Katy police station, then finally down to Harris County. During this process, the constable that had arrested him made a phone call over to Kerr County to verify that the warrant had been issued. Doesn't that have to actually be in hand of the arresting officer? Sounds to me like we got a bunch of good old boys from across the state calling up saying, "Hey, buddy, go get this guy for me, will you? He's ticked me off." We've got a legal system in this country. We get arrested for litterbugging while they're shortcutting the legal process. And if anybody in the chat room knows otherwise, then please keep me straight, because I'm not here to put out misinformation. But I do believe a warrant has to be shown to the person being arrested. It has to be in the officer's hand, or it doesn't exist. But it was not in the officer's hands. Now, Doc Krupa was moved from holding cell to holding cell through the night. He wasn't checked into his own cell. There was no cot. He spends from 4:30 in the afternoon till 8 o'clock in the morning when he gets ready to be taken down to court. Just moving them from cell to cell to keep them from settling in, from being comfortable, from being treated with respect. Everybody that he dealt with treated him rudely, as though you're automatically a criminal because you're brought in. Now, I get that everybody that gets brought in claims they're innocent. But this is America. Until you're convicted, isn't the state supposed to consider you innocent? Aren't you supposed to be treated like a citizen? At least until you have a criminal record. Now, granted, you bring in a gang member or a drug dealer that's been in the system 3 and 4 and 10 times, you're going to treat them like a criminal, because that's what they are. But when you bring in somebody that has no criminal record, you're a public servant, damn it. You're getting paid by these people. And to treat them rudely is wrong. Now, he got processed through the system. He saw a judge 8 or 9 o'clock the next morning. By 10 a.m., we had his bail paid. And he was again moved from holding cell to holding cell. You say, okay, it's a big jail. It may take an hour or two. How about 3 or 5 or 7? How about 9? Is 11 hours acceptable? How about 12? 15. Doc Krupa didn't get out for another 17 hours after bail was already paid. If this isn't, it should be criminal. Bail was authorized, and they kept him locked up for 17 hours, feeding him nothing but hard salami and stale white bread. What took so long? One of the excuses they gave him was, your name's not in the system yet. I say this is bull crap. If you've been before a judge, they got your name in the system. And if his name isn't in the system, why not just open the damn door? Because if his name's not in the system, you don't have a right to hold him for 1 hour, let alone 17 hours after bail's been paid. We need Jeffrey in the chat room. Jeffrey the Anchorman posted the album cover. Oh, the song, Alice's Restaurant. Folks, if you haven't heard it, go listen to it. It'll bring all this into focus. The insanity of a government that is supposed to be there to serve and protect the people has gotten to the point where it has turned, and we're supposed to be beholden to them. We're supposed to be afraid of them. Hence the black police uniforms these days. the stormtrooper boots, the militarization of their weaponry. Now, I don't know the details, but by God, I'm going to find out. I've been told that the county of Houston gets paid for every body that's in its custody on the 15-minute clock. So for every 15 minutes they can keep my brother, Doc Krupa, locked up, they get more money. For every hour, they get more money. How much did they make by locking him up? There were no grounds for it, but that'll have to come out in court. But how many people are we locking up to make money? It's insane. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in just a couple of minutes. This is Tom O'Halloran standing in for my good friend Doc Greene on a Monday morning. Well, Doc is sitting in judgment on other citizens. And we're back. This is Tom O'Halloran standing in for my good friend Doc Greene. And we're talking today about, well, we started talking about this story as the Republic of Texas. And the story took a turn last week when a couple of our members got locked up. Now we're talking about it from a state, from a county point of view. What is happening to the justice system here in Texas when we can fill our jails full of jaywalkers, litter buggers, and other victimless, nonviolent crimes, such as the misdemeanor of simulating a legal process? Now, I believe that charge to be totally bogus. I believe he'll walk from it. I believe the charge will be dismissed, if not dismissed, certainly found not guilty. But I'm not even concerned with that. What I'm concerned with is, why does an upstanding citizen, a doctor, one who serves the people, one who spends his days healing other people, why does he get treated like a criminal, thrown in jail for some 32 hours or more? And how many others are in jail? Doc is fortunate. He's got his own business. His business was closed for a day. Had he been held longer, had he not been able to make bail, he would have had to explain his absence of being gone for a week or two. A lot of people aren't as fortunate. They have jobs. Once you tell your boss, I won't be in today, I'm in jail, you're probably going to lose your job. And certainly after a third or fourth or fifth day. How many lives are we going to ruin over misdemeanors, just in the interest in making money for the county? We need change. We need to, and we're going to get change, because this kind of crap will not stand in the Republic of Texas. I'll guarantee you that. The Republic of Texas is about freedom. It's about liberty. It's not about criminalizing every activity in America so you can arrest anybody anytime you want. And it has been said that just about anybody can be arrested anytime the authorities want them to, because there are so many laws on the books, it's difficult for any human being in America to make it through the day without committing at least a Class A misdemeanor, if not a felony or 3. And this is all going to be gone by the wayside when the Republic of Texas is once again recognized in the international community. All these state laws, all these federal laws, they're written to control, to intimidate, to take away liberties, to bring cash into the coffers of the government. They're all going to disappear. People in jail for these types of offenses will be released. Violent criminals will be held, of course. People in jail for things like tax fraud. Since the tax law is criminal in itself, they'll probably be released as well. But certainly these misdemeanors that don't require jail time, people won't be held for jaywalking. You won't be held for asking a police officer, why am I being arrested? And I've seen that. Put your hands behind your back. Why are you doing this? What are you charging me with? Now I'm going to charge you with resisting arrest. That's crap, people. And it happens over and over and over again. Go to YouTube. Spend a couple of hours watching videos. Do a search on unlawful arrests. On police abuse. I'm very law and order. I support the police officers in this state. I support the police officers in every state. I support police officers everywhere for upholding the law, but the real law. And they have to uphold these petty laws because they're laws, but they shouldn't be laws. They shouldn't be laws. We shouldn't be arresting citizens for filing paperwork. We shouldn't be arresting them for jaywalking or for asking a police officer to explain why he's having handcuffs put on him. This is still America. And they do this to people from the Republic of Texas for wanting a different life, for wanting a life where you can walk down the street without fear of being handcuffed because some police officer sees a gun on your hip that you're legally carrying. Police officers stop you. They ask you for your ID. What do you want to see my ID for? Because I want to see it. I need to know that you're the owner of this car. No, you don't. If they don't have reasonable cause, if they don't have suspicion that you've committed an actual crime, they have no right, they have no business asking you for your ID. We're moving toward a police state, but we still have our basic rights. And I'm sick and tired of seeing this crap go on. Citizens, upstanding citizens, being arrested and treated like criminals, losing their reputation in their communities, their families tarnished, their reputations, kids in school being taunted because their parents got arrested for this kind of crap. Guest 446 in the chat room says, I wish we could clone Sheriff Mack. Amen, guest. Amen. And we may have a Sheriff Mack type among us. And we're going to talk about this in just a few minutes. Johnny Johnson in the chat room. Welcome, Johnny. Good to see you, brother. He says probable cause is still the law. Yes, it is. And I beg you, have faith. Don't cower to these bastards when they stop you and demand that you do as they say. Make them do as the Constitution says. If they can't tell you what you're suspected of, then don't show them your ID. They have no business asking. They've got no right. You have the rights. Now, having said that, if you've been a bad boy, if you got warrants out there for your bad behavior, I wouldn't suggest being too adamant, because once they run you, once they run your license plates and know who you are from that, they're going to grab you and they'll probably pull you through the window. But if you're an upstanding citizen, if you've done nothing wrong, don't cower to this bully tactic. Make them justify why they are doing an unconstitutional act, trying to force you to show them who you are. And I've seen videos. I've spent a lot of time recently watching these videos. Some of the people they pull over are defense attorneys. They know the law. And they're trying, well, we have to know who you are because you're in this car. We don't know that this is your car. And we saw you pouring something out onto the ground out of that can. Well, yeah, it was water, tonic water, that got warm. I'm stopped. I'm in a parking lot. I didn't want it to spill in the car, so I dumped it. Well, we don't know it was water. So? Stand up to them. Stand up to them. We can make a difference if we show them that we're not going to be bullied. But we have to do it individually. Everybody has to do their part. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about some other stuff when we come back. I just had to get this off my chest. They arrest another one of my friends. We'll be back on the air and raising hell. This is Tom O'Halloran standing in for my good friend,
Texas
Doc Greene.
All the rage.
We'll be right back.
RagingElephantsRadio.com.
Yep, this is Tom O'Halloran filling in for my good friend Doc Greene. We're broadcasting from our own studios now. Loving this. Now, I kind of hinted that we're going to move on here, but we're not quite done. I just don't have it in me to turn the page and start talking about other topics just yet. But before I go further, here it is, the legal disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. I do not play one on the radio. I am not giving legal advice. My advice to you is study. Open your eyes. There are videos out there of lawyers giving the same advice that I am giving. I've watched over 10 hours, probably closer to 15 hours, of these police stop videos over the last week since my friend got locked up. What's going on out there on the streets of Texas is illegal. Highly illegal. The whole idea of a alcohol stop. Okay, those have been declared legal. They've got to get alcohol off the streets, drunk drivers and all that. But driver's license stops. That's bullcrap. There is no authority in the Constitution. There is no authority in law to stop people to see if they have a driver's license. If you're being stopped for a driver's license checkpoint, tell them you are not going to cooperate. Ask questions. Am I being detained or am I free to go? This is a driver's license stop. I can't let you go until you show me your driver's license. Well, I'm not going to show it to you. Am I being arrested? You're being detained. Tell them detained means arrested. Thanks for that reminder, Johnny Johnson. It's the same thing. Ask them, what is the charge? Am I being detained or am I free to go? I want to see your driver's license. Am I being detained or am I free to go? Don't change your course. I need to see it. Ask them, what crime am I suspected of committing? According to the U.S. Constitution and the Supreme Court, I do not need to show you my ID unless you have probable cause of me committing a crime. What crime do you suspect me of committing? John Winters in the chat room, show me your papers. Yeah, this is not Nazi Germany. We don't have to show them our papers. They work for us. The whole idea of them taking our ID so they can run and check on us and see if we've committed a crime. Let's go see. Give me your ID so we can go see if there's anything out there that I can arrest you on. That's bull crap. My friends, you've got smartphones. Be smart. Use them. There are apps that you can push one button from your home screen and it starts shooting video and automatically streaming it to the web. Even if they take your phone and delete the video, they can't take away the truth of what happened. Stick to your guns. Make them prove that you've done something wrong. They cannot just, yes, Johnny Johnson, they cannot just go fishing. A fishing expedition is completely illegal. Completely illegal. Just like the search warrant served on us in Bryan, Texas. It's illegal. They had a search warrant with 2 people's names, and they authorized these police officers to take the cell phones, laptop computers, and personal documents of everyone in the room. They had no right to take my phone. Oh, and folks, this is not over. There will be criminal and civil charges filed against everybody, every agency that was involved in that. Don't think for a minute that raid is over with. Don't think for a minute that we're done with that. Because we're not. Jeffy in the chat room posted a few minutes ago, HB 326 of 5/29/2015 sent to the governor made it clear that you have to have a search warrant in hand before you arrest someone. I believe that is a law under previous law as well. I believe it's a federal law, but we'll do some research into that. But a fishing expedition is not legal. Is not legal. They can't arrest you and then find a cause. And there are videos of that exact thing all over the internet. What am I being charged with? Well, we'll work that out later. No, we don't work that way here in America. You can't arrest me because you don't like the bumper sticker on my car that says Republic of Texas. You can't arrest me and then decide how to charge me. Now, because of what happened to Doc Greene, we know that just because they can't doesn't mean that they won't. But it does mean that they can't. And that if they do, they will pay penalties for it. Because we will fight this. You can't arrest somebody unless there is probable cause for the arrest. You can't lock them up and find a way to charge them later. This is what the protesters in Florida were trying to do when Trayvon was shot. Lock up the police, or lock up George Zimmerman. Lock him up. The police wouldn't lock him up because there was no probable cause that he did anything wrong. We can't do that. We can't do that. And the stupid authorities replaced the chief of police for not arresting him without cause, which is insane. And I believe he sued the city for replacing him. And I believe he won some money for that as well. We have gotten so far away from way the laws in this country were supposed to work. Can you imagine the reality of what I said earlier? It would be almost impossible for you to get through a day and not commit a crime that you can be arrested for. It could be as simple as watering your lawn. Tommy in the chat room says, I saw East Germany in action. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. Guess what? 446. Yes, keep an attorney's phone number handy in your directory. Put him on speed dial. And on the spot, call him while you're in front of the cops. I went one further. I called around. I talked to several attorneys until I got one that was familiar with gun law. Because I carry a concealed weapon. Because I'm a big mouth on the radio. Because I talk about illegal aliens. I talk about the Muslims committing their crimes here in America. I talk about violent gangs. I talk about the black on white gang mobs that are sweeping the nation. and I'm armed and I'm ready. And I want a lawyer that is experienced enough to handle the eventuality that if I shoot somebody, he'll know exactly what to do. And now that I have that lawyer, I know exactly what to do when that situation comes up. And number one is not say a word to the police officers. Call my attorney. Folks, it's time to wake up. It's time to take control. It's time to take responsibility for your freedom, because it's yours until you give it away, until you let them have it, until you roll over and submit to the tyranny that's sweeping our nation, to the tyranny that's sweeping Texas. When we come back, I'm going to talk about a man that just might make a difference for us. Stick around. This is the Doc Greene Show. And we're back. This is Tom O'Halloran, once again filling in for my good friend Doc Greene. We've been talking this last hour and a half about citizens' rights, about the way we're treated when we do cross the law or are suspected of crossing the law. We're talking about the mistreatment of people that are in custody. I had the pleasure of meeting Carl Pittman this last week. He was being interviewed on Tommy's Garage, and it was a very, very interesting interview. Carl Pittman was a sheriff's deputy, I believe, and maybe a constable. And a year ago, the sheriff's office issued a social media policy that prohibited officers from acting as civilians, from acting as citizens, and talking about what's going on in the sheriff's department, what's going on in the jails. Just because you're a police officer doesn't mean you don't have a First Amendment right to free speech, to criticize, to complain. It's not a private company. If you have a private company, you can tell people, I don't want you saying this about my company or I'll fire you. That you pretty much have a right to do. They're bad-mouthing your business, you can probably boot them out without too much problem. But this is a different situation. So Carl Pittman filed a lawsuit against Harris County. The Harris County's sheriff's office, anyway. And he got a lawyer. And what I admire most about this is the fact that this wasn't about money. Carl Pittman didn't say, I don't want to work anymore, so I'm offended about this rule, and I want to be compensated with $150 million. Oh, and change the rule. Now, this was pure. God bless him. This was pure. Change the rule. That's all we want. Change the rule. As employees of the sheriff's department, we do our jobs honorably. We do our jobs properly. We do what we're supposed to do. But after hours, when I log into Facebook, I should be free to say what I want to say. When I log onto Twitter, I can tweet my complaints. I can let people know what's happening. So the people who are paying my salaries will have choices. They can make a difference. So in August of last year, he filed this. And on April 7th of this year, the Sheriff's County revised their social media policy and deleted all of the offending provisions. In addition, the county, after receiving approval by the Commissioner's Court, agreed to pay Carl Pittman's legal fees, which were $13,000. Just the legal fees. No money to Carl Pittman. No money to him at all. Came before the judge last week. The Honorable Ewing Werlein, district judge, entered a dismissal of the case and ordered that the law firm be reimbursed. Carl Pittman is now running for sheriff of Harris County, and he's got my vote. He pledges to be a constitutional sheriff, a la Sheriff Mack. We may have our own. He had the courage of his convictions to take on his own employer, to make them stand by the Constitution. And I'm hoping on hope, that when the time comes, Sheriff Carl Pittman will make the changes that are needed in the Sheriff's Department, so that when people are brought in, they are released as soon as they are booked if they haven't committed violent acts. If they're suspected of committing a crime, fine. Take them to court and find out. But there's no reason to put jail in the lives of people that haven't physically hurt other citizens. For people that aren't violent criminals. Okay, moving on. We do have a couple of other things that we want to touch on before this show is over. You've heard about the attacks. Chris X talked about it on his radio show just before I came on the air. The armored van, the armored vehicle that pulled up in front of the Dallas Police Department. The crazy guy inside that started shooting from several different angles to make people think that there were more than one person in there. Supposedly, I guess he had a bomb that was set outside the truck. Somebody almost tripped over it. A police sniper took this man out. Problem solved. But the real outrage, the absolute insanity. And I'm calling for a protest. I'm calling for everybody listening to the show, either live or from the archives. CNN's anchor, Frederica Whitfield, called the attack on Dallas Police Headquarters very courageous and brave. That was on Saturday morning's CNN newsroom. While discussing with legal analyst Philip Holloway, she said it was very courageous and brave, if not crazy as well, to open fire on police headquarters. And now you have this scene, this standoff. She says, so do you believe there are hallmarks of more than one person's involvement? Courageous and brave to try to kill police officers. This woman needs to be removed from CNN. This is absolutely irresponsible. Incredibly irresponsible for a mainstream media person to say it was courageous and brave to hide behind steel armor and shoot at police officers. May she be fired and deemed unhireable by anybody else. Now we're going to stay up north. Last month, we had police officers standing outside Twin Peaks Restaurant, where a bunch of bikers were having a rally, a gathering. 170 people were arrested. 170 people were arrested, with $1 million bond being put on most of these people. More tyranny. More tyranny. Charges of organized crime being placed on honest, upstanding people just for being in a certain location. People with no criminal ties. No criminal ties whatsoever. One of the men arrested was a 30-year retired police officer from, I believe it was Austin, a retired detective, was just riding with his bike club. A group of respectable citizens, doctors and lawyers and the like. Another group of people was the Grim Guardians. They weren't even at the event. They were arrested near the event. 65-year-old decorated vet Jesse Delgado had no criminal ties or club affiliation. The Grim, what did I call them? Lost my page. The Grim Guardians was a group of people for veterans that are guardians of our youth. They raise money for abused kids. None of them have any ties to any outlaw biker gang. They were on their way to the bike club gathering because it was a gathering of all sorts of bike clubs. But they weren't even at the event, and they were charged with organized crime. They were released early since they weren't arrested at the event. And when the Waco Police Department found out that they were arrested or released, they re-arrested them. And when the media caught up with that, they were released. There were a lot of good bike clubs up there. There were a lot of good people up there that weren't involved in any illegal activity. The Leatherneck Club was there, all bikers that were all Marines. Different mom and pop groups, the Foreign Legions bike riders, many of those are veterans. The police need to learn to differentiate between crime and just somebody that we can make money off of. Many of these people, over 100 I believe, are still under arrest, a month in jail. Most of those probably have lost their jobs. Their reputations are being impugned. Loss of income. Many of them have their bikes and cars impounded because they haven't been able to make their payments on them. More tyranny from Texas. And as it's shaking out, there is still, 30 days later, there is still no video. With 17 police officers in the parking lot, not one of them they're in the parking lot and they are expecting trouble, and not one of them had a video camera set up to record the events. There is not one photograph, there is not one video of a single biker holding a gun. And it's looking like the police officers were the ones firing the weapons. They claim they have picked up rounds from handguns. But I've seen not one report of a single biker that had a GSR swab proving that he had fired a weapon. Not a single biker has been proven to have fired a weapon that day. The tyranny is rampant in Texas. And we've got to put an end to it. We've got to hold the police departments accountable for what they do. We've got to stop locking people up if we don't have actual probable cause, not just a hunch that maybe they're guilty of something. We'll figure out what over the next month or two as they rot in jail. Stick around, it's the Doc Greene Show. And we're back. I thank Doc Greene for letting me sit in for him again. It's always an honor to sit in for my good friend Doc. And next up, I want to talk about what Ted Cruz, and I love the man. I wish he was constitutionally qualified to be president. I don't believe he is, but I think he would be the best man for the job if he was. But I think the constitutionally qualified has to come first. But this isn't about that. What he said the other day about why he's supporting Obama's trade agreements, why he's supporting this fast-track authority. This is some scary stuff. For the last 80 years, any major trade deal has been done with the president having fast-track authority. This gives the president the ability to negotiate a trade deal and send it to Congress for an up or down vote. There's no real discussion on it. There are no amendments to be made. Basically, Congress, the Senate, is giving up their required 2/3 of a vote to approve a treaty in exchange for having to vote 2/3 to reject the treaty. The problem with all this is that virtually every treaty that has ever been brought up under fast track has been approved. There's almost nothing that has been fast tracked and failed. Now, most of these treaties that have been approved have failed. NAFTA, the World Trade thing, the treaty with China, the treaty with Colombia, they've all wreaked havoc on the U.S. economy. They've all destroyed hundreds of thousands of jobs here in America. They've sent 50,000 jobs for one treaty. I don't remember which one that was. 50,000 jobs went overseas. To give any president the ability to fast-track these failed policies is a failed policy in itself. But when you've got a president that even Ted Cruz says that he doesn't trust, you don't give this man more power. Everything President Obama has touched, he's done with an intent to destroy America. Every treaty, once this fast track is approved, every treaty Obama puts forth is likely to pass. Now, without passing fast track now, it's true. If we lose the majority in the House next election, we may not get fast track. In other words, there may not be another big trade treaty which we can use to destroy America more. So what? Who cares? The trade treaties haven't helped America. They have hurt America. But now you've got a president intent on destroying America. And what people are talking about most are the Pacific Trade Treaty, where Obama's negotiating with 11 different countries and blah, 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 blah. But the thing about these is once the treaty is approved, Obama has the ability to go in after the fact, after Congress approves it, and they can renegotiate terms. That's not a good thing. But the scariest of all things is a treaty that you're not hearing much about. And that trade treaty that I just mentioned, why is it being held in a secure room? The congressmen, the senators have to go into a sealed room, sign in, and read it on site. They can't take recorders. They can't take photographs. They don't even get to take notes. They can't even take their staff who are experienced in trade matters. Ted Cruz says, yes, I read it. It looked like pretty straightforward to me. It's 700 pages. He says, I didn't read it real carefully. I don't know what may be hidden. No, of course you don't. Because it's secret, because they won't let you read it. Ted Cruz uttered a Pelosiism the other day. We'll all know what's in it once it's approved. Good God, Ted Cruz, what are you thinking? This secrecy has to end. But here's what you need to fear. It's not the Pan-Pacific trade deal. what you need to be aware of and what nobody is talking about is a little known policy. It's the Trade in Services Agreement. The Trade in Services. It's an annex on the movement of natural persons. WikiLeaks leaked a draft of the document. A draft of the document. The TISA, Trade in Services Agreement, is currently under negotiation between the United States Union and the European Union and 23 other countries. The agreement creates an international legal regime which aims to deregulate and privatize the supply of services, which account for the majority of the economy across the TISA countries. The TISA Annex aims to harmonize limitations on the ability of national governments to restrict the ingress, movement, and egress of their territory, within their territory, of employees, contractors, agents, or service companies. This is going to destroy America. If this gets approved, which Obama wants approved, he will have single-handedly, with the Republicans' approval, because they're pushing this thing. The Democrats are all against it. Because, as much as I hate to say it, the Democrats are for the unions. They are for the working man. But I stand with the Democrats here. Because the Republicans are positioning themselves to take presidency and be able to use this fast track. But they don't see what's happening. This is an immigration bill. They are signing immigration authority over to Obama. He will be able to negotiate this. There's a list of about 40 different categories of people that will be able to come and go as they want, to freely travel to America. Consultancy services relating to hardware and computer hardware. Software implementation services, data processing services, database services, R&D, advertising services, market research, management consulting, technical testing, building and construction, general construction for buildings, sewage services, refuse disposal, sanitation. All of these different categories of industry will be able to come into our country at will because it takes away the government's authority to stop it. Now, the Democrats shut down the TPA, the fast track, last week. I hate to say it, but God bless Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to burn in hell for ever uttering those words. But she is the one that stopped it because she voted against it, and all of the other Democrats that were behind it fell away. It's going to be revoted on again. If not today, then tomorrow or Wednesday at the latest. If it doesn't get passed, then we're safe. Obama will not get the fast track authority, and his political power will be pretty much spent. But this cannot be allowed to happen. I beg of you, if you're listening to this, call your congressman, call the Republicans, tell them to stand down. This fast track is a smokescreen for Obama to get the TISA approved. It's all about immigration. It's all about him bringing in people to take American jobs. It is going to hurt the economy. It's going to hurt the American worker like nothing that's ever been done to us before. Johnny Johnson in the chat room says he's greasing the skids as we speak. Yes, he is. And the economy is going to go straight over the cliff. Call your rhino Republicans. Orrin Hatch said last week, he says, this is an important bill, this fast track. It's important to Obama. Who gives a damn? What's important to Obama is the destruction of the American way. Why would the Republicans in office not see this? Are they being bought off by the big corporates? I mean, they're already getting their money from these guys. They're the ones that are going to benefit from all this cheaper labor that's coming in. What other reason would the Republicans have to stand with the president when his own party won't stand with him? Folks, please, if you've never called your representatives before, please call them now. Guest 446, I called big and loud on this lunacy. Yes, it is lunacy. And Nancy Pelosi got it right on this one. And God bless her and the Democrats for standing up. I stand with the progressives. I need a drink, folks. I've never been in this position before. But I stand with the Democrats, with the progressives. We've got to stop the SOB that's in the White House that is trying to ruin America. And that's it for this week. Please stay tuned for the Mighty Heidi, who will bring the pace down a little bit. God bless you, Texas. This is Tom O'Halloran.